Oh my goodness. Okay, it looks like we're live.
All right.
Oh my goodness. I'm so excited to have Heather on here. And I'm checking, y'all know I have to do my million checks and make sure that we're actually talking to other people. Okay, it does not say I'm live in the group though. Oh,
Oh,
I see an eyeball. So that
oh,
means we are live. I just can't see where we are. Whoever you are, my friend, can you put an emoji or something to make sure that you can let me know that you can hear us and see us? I would truly
hello.
appreciate it. Okay. And I'm excited about what I'm calling courageous conversations because I have no idea what we're going to end up talking about today. I do know some of the things because I know this lady very well. And Heather, Heather
What's up?
Hammell. No, that's not how you pronounce your name.
But 100% of people pronounce it that way. So it's totally,
At least I caught it, right? I'm like,
yep.
no, that's not how she pronounces her name.
It's like
So
it.
anyway, so I'm gonna stop messing this up and let you introduce yourself so we can get into it before all the
Yeah.
people leave.
Okay. First of all,
Thank you, Donna. She said she can hear us loud and clear
awesome.
and see us. Okay,
I'm
awesome.
so excited to talk to you because I haven't talked to you for a while. So it's so fun to be able to check in. I am Heather Hammell. I almost forgot how to say it too. Because I was just gone this weekend, and whenever I check into a hotel, I just say Hamill. It's like it's just easier. We don't have to argue about how to spell it or whatever. So yeah, I'm Heather Hammell. I'm a life and business coach for myofascial release therapists who have been trained by John Barnes.
Oh, this is so cool. It's just like it just flows off like butter, right? And
That's right.
it's super specific. And I want to talk to you about that in a few because
Okay.
I think that so many of us, and I'm going to raise my hand and say myself included, um, are afraid to niche down. Like you are super specific in
Yeah.
your niche. You don't work with massage therapists, all of them in the world. You don't work with all of the MFR, myofascial release people in the world. You work with those who have been trained by John Barnes.
Yeah.
And so well, let's just dive right into that. Tell me how you got to that specificity in your niche.
hmm
And did you have any concerns, any mind drama about it? And what has your experience been like by being so specific?
Well, it's all I know, first of all. Second of all, okay, so if we just backtrack a little bit and tell
Of
people
course.
how we know each other, right? So you were my very first life coach that I ever hired. You were the one that introduced me to the life coach school, which I'm now certified through. Um, and you were the one that helped me to decide kind of this niche, right? Like I have been a myofascial release therapist. I'm an expert level John Barnes trained myofascial release therapist. I have been so for almost 11 years. I had a successful brick and mortar hands-on practice. And when I met you, I was kind of like, I don't, I'm just in a transitional phase. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And because of that, like I am now a life coach for MFR therapists. I think my main reason for wanting to work with that specific group is because they speak my language. I speak their language. It's not that big of a jump to go from being the therapist to being a coach for those therapists because I know all of their, what they're thinking and what their drama is. And especially with creating businesses. And I'm tired of seeing MFR therapists under earn, especially like massage therapists out there who think that $30,000 or $40,000 or $50,000 is really living the life. And I know that I can help any one of them create a six-figure business and it doesn't have to take a long time.
Okay, so you touched on this a little bit then. So let's talk specifically about you were in this transition in your life. You didn't know what you wanted to be when you grew up, and you somehow heard about me
Yeah.
from somewhere. So talk a little bit about what challenges specifically you were facing in your
Mhm.
life that caused you to reach out to me because I too am a life and business coach, right? And you and I started on just the life coaching track and then transitioned into business. So what kind of challenges were you experiencing before we started working together?
Yeah. So it was the time of COVID. It was like June 2020. My business had closed, my business had opened, and then it seemed as if it was going to close again. And I really wanted to know what to do next. Like, how do I manage this if this is going to keep being like, if this is life now, open, closed, open, closed. It was really like before anyone knew how the virus was transmitted and any of that stuff. And a lot of my clients were not wanting to wear masks. Like there was a certain level of safety that wasn't guaranteed. And I didn't know if I wanted to play that game. So I needed an exit route out of there if I wasn't going to be doing hands-on care. I had been in another coaching program. But it was like, I didn't understand that it was coaching. It was more like this online group that I subscribed to with Greg Todd and his whole crew. And somehow you must have been friends with a friend of a friend on Facebook, and I saw you and I was like interested in getting to know you, and I messaged you and was like, hey, how's it going? And then you were like, hey, what are you doing in my DMs? Like, let's book a call, and I was like, what's happening? I don't even know what's happening. But I'm so glad that you did, that you weren't just like, don't just say hi and leave,
That is so funny that was your experience of that. You're like, what are you doing in my DMs? Let's book a call.
Okay. No, I mean, you thought my perception of it, you're probably like, what are you doing, weirdo? Like, why are you here?
Oh my gosh. That was such crazy times during the summer of last year, because it wasn't just COVID. It was also the Black Lives Matter and all of the foolishness.
It was at the height of that. Well, not the height, but it was like at the start of a lot of
stuff.
Lots. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we got on the call, and then what happened from your perspective? Because I love hearing this part of your story.
So we got on the call, and of course, like I didn't really know what was going on or like what could happen if I worked with you, but I had this overwhelming sense that like I needed to do it and I didn't know why. And we got to the part where you were like telling me the price, and I was like, oh gosh, I can't, there's like no way I can spend that money. I've got to ask my husband. And like, I relive this moment of my life, like all the time. And you said to me like, oh, does your husband make decisions in your business? And I was like, oh, am I allowed to swear on here?
Of course.
I was like, oh shit. Like, no, he doesn't. Like, my business had always ran itself, and I didn't ask him permission before I would like book a seminar that I was going to, right? So that was a really big turning point in how I saw myself as a business person. Like that sentence, like that sentence alone could have been worth what I paid you to be my life coach. Because it was really life-changing for me.
Yeah, it's interesting because one of my coaches talks about it's really like being courageous in the conversation, the sales conversation. Like there's one part that is coaching, and one part that's sales, and one part that's the consultation part.
Yeah.
And I guess my philosophy now when I'm in consultation with a person is, for that time, whether it's 45 minutes, an hour, or whatever, you're my client.
Yeah.
And so it's my job as a coach in that moment to ask questions that may be uncomfortable for both you and I.
Yeah.
And because I have seen what you've been able to do in your business, and I've seen the ripple effect to your clients, I'm like, it was very uncomfortable for me to ask that question. And I'm glad I did.
Well, like you did. I was just like, I could just tell like you were not effing around. Like this was like the opportunity to have a life-changing moment or not. All I had to do was like cross the line. And
so,
you're like, are you coming or not? Like, but you weren't, but you did it in the most, like, I'm sure on your side, like you were crapping and like, it wasn't comfortable for you. It wasn't like something you say every day, but you were so confident that I would be fine if I went with you. It was just very matter of fact. And everything was just very matter of fact. And there wasn't a lot of room for me to wiggle out of it because you were so good at talking to all of my objections and really being there, not as a friend, but better as a friend, like as a coach, because you weren't just trying to talk me into something. You wanted me to see like what was possible if I went with you.
Oh yeah. I mean, and just even if you didn't go with me, if you went with your own dream and your own goals, because like that's when I'm in consultation with someone, I'm looking to connect the dots, and I often see it way before y'all do.
Yeah.
And so once I see it, I'm like, oh, clearly I know how
Yeah.
this is going to go.
When I was such a hot mess, like I didn't know what my goals were. I didn't know if I was getting life coach or business coach or having a mental breakdown or gonna, like I didn't know what. I was just in the middle of a crisis of like almost like an identity crisis of like, what am I going to do? Who am I? Like, how am I going to show up in this world? Because right now, this world that I know is real shitty, and I don't want to be a part of the shitty side. Like, I want to expand myself in some sort of way here, and that, you got all of that.
Yeah, I mean, and that was pretty badass because you ended up having to do something that took guts just to get started. So tell us about the boat, please, madam.
Oh yeah. So we got off that call and we were going to meet like the next day. So I had to be ready to pay you that next day and like have decisions made. So I went home and I was talking to my husband and I was like, and because we had the conversation that we had, I was ready to have the conversation with him where instead of asking for permission, I was just kind of telling him what I was going to do, which are two totally different conversations, right? Asking for permission is something totally different than saying, this is what I'm doing. So I just said, I was like, I'm going to hire Tavana as my life coach. I don't know what's happening. I'm going to go ahead and sell our boat so that I can pay for it. I was thinking I'll sell the boat to pay for this, but more so I was like, I'll get rid of like one layer of some sort of like financial burden that we have. And I was just like, we had this conversation earlier. I didn't even actually use that money to pay for life coaching because first of all, we owed a lot of money on that boat. So what we got out of it, like paid the rest of it off and we had a little bit left over. So if I'm being 100% honest, like I didn't actually get the money to pay. I didn't have enough, right? I had to use my business money and I had enough of my business money and I had enough credit built up that I could make a large purchase all at one time. It was not a problem. I think it was also good for me to see that I could just make that purchase. Like I had the purchasing power to do it. And that's awesome. Like I created that,
Yeah, right. You created possibility. It's really interesting because whenever we make a decision, like you came in with a decision, not a question. It wasn't like I'm gonna try, I'm hoping, I'm a wish. It's like, nope, this is what I'm gonna do. And even though the boat didn't work out where you could fully pay for it, you were like, all right, but that the decision is made, and so you figured out other ways. And I think that is so admirable because I've seen that quality in you when it came to other parts of our time working together, like when you wrote your book and things. It's like, nope, I just decided that this is what I'm going to do and I'm going to figure it out. And I appreciate you bringing that up because that really shows me like, oh, this is one of the qualities of people who really win. It's like, okay, once you decide, you just figure the rest out. It's not like you have to figure all the stuff out in order to decide. No, you decide and then you figure out the stuff as it comes up.
Yeah. That's really how life works. When we keep waiting for things to work out or waiting to be comfortable or waiting for a guarantee or a promise, like life just like keeps going by, keeps going by. And you're just waiting for something that you could have created in the meantime on your own or with the help of somebody else. But that's one thing that I notice too with like working with my clients now. There are some therapists that come to me and they have literally nothing. They have not even one client to their name. Maybe they're not married, like they don't have a secondary income from a spouse and they're like all in. They're like, yes, this is what I need. Like, I just know that I need to do it. And then they like just make it happen. And then there's other people that actually do have more safety nets and they're more timid and more afraid of how it's going to go because I guess it's like, I can't even lump everybody into a category, but some people have like that belief in themselves, even if they don't really know it's there. And some people don't quite have it yet. So there's a difference in people that make a leap and people that don't.
Yeah. I wonder if it's more like self-confidence, right? Because self-confidence, at least the way that I look at it, is I believe in myself and my ability to figure out things, period. Versus what I'll call regular confidence is like I am confident in my abilities as I used to be a physical therapist. So I'm
Yeah.
confident in my abilities as a physical therapist, especially on the cardiopulmonary floor,
Yeah.
because I've done it time and time and time
Yeah.
again. So I got that feedback to reinforce that belief that I can do it.
Mhm.
Whereas self-confidence is like, I can figure it out no matter what it is, or I have my own back, even if things don't necessarily work out how I think they will or how I want them to. I don't
Yeah.
say how they should, because things happen how they will, period.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Hmm.
I think too, like people, or I guess I should only speak about myself. Like I sometimes have absolutely zero idea how something is going to work out, but I just like decide that it's going to, like you said, it's just like a decision. So even if it takes longer than I thought, or even if there starts and stops, as long as I'm not making it mean failure, I can't fail. Like I'm just going through the process. And you don't know until you're at the end of the process how long the process was going to take.
Yeah, that is really that's like the biggest lesson ever, and a lesson that we have to keep learning.
Mhm.
So, as what was your experience like in working together? Was it anything that surprised you?
Anything that surprised me? I mean, the whole thing was a surprise to me, right? Like my brain likes to think like you had no idea what you were doing and la la la. But I guess I should like really own the time that we had together. I feel like I squeezed out like everything I could from the 6 months that we had together. And then I've done a group program with you too. And like showing up for the other people in the group and getting coached and like really taking the coaching and applying it to everything I was doing so that I didn't stay stuck too long in one task or the other because I was worried about getting it perfect. I was totally willing to make a lot of mistakes, feel really uncomfortable, feel like ass a lot of the time, honestly, and get support where I could get it. Like we talked every week, and on our off weeks we had like a little group and I could just share everything and get and have problems solved. I had like years long issues with family members that were resolved in the very first coaching call we had. That would be like my number one biggest surprise of how quickly that worked and how that's still like the same story, still true today. A year later, like everything is great. So, yeah, I don't know if I answered that question or not.
Yeah, like how quick. I guess the summary of it is what surprised you is how quickly things could be resolved in just one coaching session. If
Yeah.
I had to summarize.
Yes, exactly. And so like if I built on that momentum, then every time I went into a coaching call, I didn't have to have some crazy thing solved, but I knew that I could, like anything was possible. Anything.
Hmm. So talking about possibility, what kind of tangible results did you get during our time together? I know for a fact you created, like you wrote a whole freaking book.
Yeah, I wrote a book.
So what else did you went? I'll let you tell.
Yeah, so I wrote a book and I sat on it for a long time after I wrote it in like a weekend. You had advised me, you're like, just literally write down everything you know about how to have a myofascial release business. Just write it down. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I can. And I finally just did it, sat down like in my bed with my laptop and in a weekend wrote all of the content for that. And then I sat on it for months and months because I didn't know what the next step was. And I like didn't even like ask for help on that. Then it occurred to me that I could hire editors and I could hire someone to design the cover and I could just upload it to Amazon. But because I didn't know how to do any of those things, like that kept me stuck for a while. Got coached on it, figured it out, cleaned my brain out, got moving forward. Wrote that in September, had it published by December. I could have had it published probably in October, but that's okay. It came out at the perfect time. So I wrote the book. I decided to go to life coaching school and became a life coach. So I started life coach school in September last year too. So I got certified in April. And then at the same time in September, I decided with your help that like I knew enough to go ahead and start helping people with their MFR businesses. So I started to do consults and I signed my first client. So I made $3,000 in 2020 coaching with my first client, and she actually re-upped with me. So I got to coach with her for 6 months. And then pretty shortly after the first of the year, I got a very large influx of clients. Like I was signing clients all the time, having consults all the time. And I've just gotten better and better at the consult process and coaching, right? Like I didn't know then what I know now for coaching. So I've just been getting better and better at coaching and helping people to get their results, faster and have them last longer. So that's where I'm at now.
Yeah. So in addition to having all your clients and you're getting the consults and your book is done and all of that wonderful stuff, like is there, and of course you already alluded to this a little bit, but what does life look like now on the other side of working together?
So it looks like I am becoming the person that I always knew that I am. Like I really have a lot more respect for myself, more self-trust, more confidence. And it's not like just the confidence where I say I'm confident. It's like, no, you can see that I am from the things that I'm creating and the way that I'm following through with things. And then also in my ability to coach other people too and have them create those same results. And I just like I love it. I love the flexibility of coaching. I loved my hands-on MFR practice too, but there wasn't a lot of flexibility to that. Like you're either working and getting paid or you're not. And in coaching, I can sign as many clients as I want to see. It's so flexible. I can take time off whenever I want. Like prior to this call, I just took a nap, like
Love midday naps.
yes. So I think I'm much more like I'm taking much better care of myself in this last year after being a coach. I see the importance of that. I see the gosh, what are the differences? Like that's mainly is like my self-care game has gone way up. Yeah. And I'm running this business how I would tell my MFR therapists to run their businesses, and this business is way better than my MFR business was. And I thought I had a really successful MFR business. So we got that too.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So that said, is there anything you would say in particular to someone who's on the fence in terms of coaching, working with me, or any of that?
Yeah, I would say it just there's no benefit to waiting or to having to have all of the reassurances to go ahead and sign with Tavana, especially with Tavana. Like she has helped me to create so much money in my business. Like you can do it too. So like, don't wait if like money is the reason why, because you have every day to make more and more money. So it actually ends up not being an issue.
I love it.
I know, but it's so true. And I've spent a lot of money since coaching with you on like other coaching endeavors, and it makes me like look back at when I was so afraid to invest in the beginning and be like, well, you thought that was a big investment, but like everything after this is going to be bigger and bigger, right? It's just like one of the things that happens. Okay, so back to if they're on the fence for coaching with you, just get off the fence, jump over the fence, sign the paperwork, start doing the coaching. You have nothing to lose. You will only gain confidence. You will start to love your life more, your friends, your relationships, your kids. Like everything is easier. Parenting is easier now after coaching. Like so many things. It just spills over into your whole life.
Right. And we spent the majority of time together working on business stuff.
Yeah.
And I love that you mentioned that it just everything spills over into life. And it's like, okay, life and having a way better business than you did before and making more money and just having the belief that more money is coming. So
yeah. And it works. It works. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Heather. I love our little chats together, whether they're on Voxer or here or what have you. I am just so honored to have been a part of your journey, and I'm so excited to see the next leg of your journey and all the people that you will continue to help because you decided to take a chance on yourself. And so, if you're watching this and you want to experience the power of coaching, go to tavanadenise.com/momentum.
Yeah, do it.